it needs to come out in the open and say whether this is indeed a leaked version. We don't know for sure whether that is indeed the audio. I think the public is social media has gone crazy in listening to this, and they're acting disproportionately in relation to what is heard.
To some other news, a major human trafficking bust has shocked Tobago, leaving residents of Signal Hill disturbed by the allegations. On Saturday, police arrested 38-year-old Damon Dominic Charles and raided his property in Aquamarine Drive. Charles is being held under preventive detention order pending investigations into trafficking in children and sexual penetration of a minor. 3 police vehicles returned to the property on Sunday, with officers taking pictures and gathering further evidence. Residents tell CNC3 News they were in disbelief that such activity could occur in their peaceful community. One neighbor, speaking on the condition of anonymity, said Charles would visit the house occasionally, but expressed a doubt he could be involved in nefarious activities. However, Homeland Security Minister Roger Alexander says it is a mistake to judge a book by its cover.
While we see everybody else with this great face, jacket and tie and all that, you never know what they're involved in. Some people disguise themselves to such an extent that it's almost impossible to believe.
Meanwhile, police from various divisions are investigating 3 separate home invasions which took place between Friday and Saturday night. In the most recent incident on Saturday night, police say bandits stormed the Belandra home of a couple, tying them up and stealing their Toyota Axio car. Hours earlier, at around 2:40 p.m., a 45-year-old woman was at her 9th Avenue Barataria apartment when 2 bandits walked into her home and pistol-whipped her before stealing over $18,000 before escaping in a waiting car. On Friday night, bandits also broke into the home of a family on Boise Trace, Kelly Village, stealing $400 Canadian, a Canadian passport, and jewelry. Officers of the multi-operational police section were called in and arrested 3 suspects, including 2 18-year-olds at the nearby riverbank. Well, stay tuned for another news update at the top of the hour and for comprehensive coverage in our midday news and major newscast at 7 p.m. on CNC3.
Hey, good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. Today, Monday, July 27th, 2026. It's a day that, well, when we consider our recent history, it's one that we mark with a level of reverence, remembrance for those who would have lost their lives in the 1990 attempted coup. And it's a moment where we, I hope, take a moment and reflect on our history and what we have been through and what took us to this particular place. I'll treat some more with it when I go inside to the studio, but let me say good morning one and all. Jason Williams signing on. I'm looking forward to not only today but for the rest of the week, the final week for July 2026. We usher August in this weekend, and it's also going to be your Emancipation holiday. So in the meantime, sit back, relax. Hope you had a great weekend. It is time to get the ball rolling for today, Monday, inside the Morning Brew. See you soon. All right. Running in with energy, passion, and purpose on this Monday morning. As mentioned, today the 27th day of July 2026, and on this day back in 1990, it was a Friday. Big football finals was happening at the stadium, Trinidad versus Jamaica. I remember it so well. I was 11 years old, and the reality is that moment, looking at the likes of Dominic Calapasad, Jones P. Madera on TTT at the time, with gunmen behind them and not understanding as a child what was happening, and then hearing your aunt and uncle and everybody explaining to you what was taking place. It was a very frightening moment. And there's a whole generation that have there's no clue. They got no clue as to what transpired because we tend to sweep our history under the carpet. It's the same, I could draw the same argument as it pertains to the 1903 water riots that burned down the Red House as we know it. was burned to the ground, flat, flat, flat. Look at the history. 1903, in March, we went through the water rats, and people, the population at the time under the colonial government said enough is enough. So we have had a history of major upheaval, of interruption, of disruption. And I find myself trying to make sense of this current moment and the fact that, and we're not talking about the politics, we'll treat with that later on, but I'm talking here about archives and history. You seen that word on screen? We, for some reason, sweep our history, especially our dark history, under the carpet. And it's only from understanding and giving the generation a chance to learn about their dark history. That is when you do not ever repeat the said history. Look at that. That was our city back in 1990. Total destruction, looting, mayhem, the full works. And many would have lost their lives. Of course, Yasin Abubakar, who was at the center of all of it, he's not with us anymore. And many conspiracy theories and different plots and subplots would have come out of it from that day to now. And we could talk about the coup. This could be a whole 2-hour special. But as it pertains to my perspective on it today, I remember the lives that were lost, the innocent lives that were lost, all those who gave up so much. Of course, we recall the Prime Minister at the time, A.N.R. Robinson, being shot, saying attack with full force. I mean, he wasn't probably liked the greatest Prime Minister in terms of his style and his tone-deaf nature, but the reality is he stood strong in a moment where many would have crumbled. And I think there are many, including myself, who were able to say, wow, what a man, what a strength. And may he also rest in peace. And again, condolences to all those who would have lost loved ones during that 1990 insurrection with the damage that took place in Port of Spain and on Maraval Road. There are people up to this day, some of the TTT workers from that time, who are still traumatized by that moment. And it was so many years ago. So when it comes around to this day, it's one that I always pay particular attention. I give respect to those who would have made the sacrifice to go out there and defend us. And of course, I also send condolences to those who would have lost loved ones on that fateful day. And it's important for us to teach the history to the generation coming up. I find we always tend to put our history, especially our dark history, on a back burner. Act like it never happened. And when you act like something don't happen, that's when chances are it might show up again. All right, so just had to put that out there on this historic day, July 27th, 2026. Let's head to the front page and see what's happening. Couple of stories here, couple of moving parts. MV Golden Carrier makes maiden voyage to Tobago. It made its way back from Tobago early this morning with cargo. It went up empty just to make sure that, you know, could dock it and, you know, you see, so let's set the maneuvering, thing angle it up, you put it in reverse and, you know, yes. So they're making sure that all is in place with this. Apparently it's a real state-of-the-art vessel. I mean, you could see, look at that, wow, good, well done, well done, kudos there. So that's the carrier, it's the MV Golden Carrier. And I think it should be back in the port of Port of Spain this morning. Also, I'm seeing here, clear the air on audio tape. Legal experts urge government to say if leaked Sabga Hadid phone call or the conversation clip that everybody listened to, not probably once, but twice over the weekend. They're asking, legal experts are asking if it's authentic, and it's raising concerns about wiretapping. That story develops on page 5. On page 8, CCJ awaits CARICOM referral on the Barnett reappointment. And another maritime incident, a boating incident, where one is dead and 2 rescued after boat sinks off a carcass. I mean, what is going on in the waters? This is really, really, it's almost like a tragedy on top of a tragedy. We saw what happened there in Guyana. We had that incident with our fishermen, you know, who were lost. One passed away. We had the incident with the baby girl last week, 5 years old, and another adult. And now, another person here of the carcass shoreline. You know, we send condolences there to Julio Lopez. Well, that is Julio Lopez, so I want to send condolences to the Lopez family those who know him in Trinidad and, of course, Venezuela. Really, really heartbreaking. We head to the back page on this Monday morning, and for some reason, the Calypso girls not firing on cylinders at all in this Commonwealth Games. Heavy defeat, to Uganda. Yeah, we handed our second defeat in Glasgow. Apparently, just not clicking. I mean, you see the score. I'll let you read it for yourself. The score is not a flattering one at all. But listen, girls, that's how you're able to gauge yourself and know how to become better. When you iron the sharpened iron, and sometimes you might be doing well on the regional stage, but when you reach out there and bounce up teams from, other jurisdictions, you recognize, we have to step up. And then, the funny thing is we were at a point in time the world leaders. I mean, that was probably before my time, but when I hear the stories of Gene Pay and stuff, I heard that we were second to none. Nobody could have beat us back in the day. I don't know what happened. Jamaica, they still have they got a very strong netball culture and team. So I think we need to probably just get the momentum and get the rhythm back for the Calypso girls. And well, of course, the test. You're seeing the back page there. That's Jaden Seals getting bold. And what's telling with this picture? Tell me what you see in the picture. Other than, obviously, photo here by Lincoln Holder. Well done, Lincoln. Beautiful shot. You're getting the ball, the bills in the air. Of course, a missed stroke. He's trying for the shot there. Of course, clean ball between bat and pad. He's gone. But what's telling to me in this picture is what's happening in the background. Yeah, in the depth of field, as they call it, in the world of photography. There's no one in the seats. The blue seats and the white seats are absolutely empty. Not for, let's say, marketing, because, yes, we knew this test was happening, but for some reason, and this test started over the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, so you can't tell me you couldn't take a family member down. And I seen this, I should, follow my particular advice and make the time and go down, but myself, like many others, I guess other things happening, life is going on. And I remember my mom taking me to the Oval back in the day to see Test cricket, and there was a crowd. People was out and about. It had the nuts man, the lady with the pie, the man with the juice. We're talking here old 1990s, 80s, Queen's Park Oval on the hard bench, and it was a whole energy. It was a momentum. It had a spirit. I don't know what's going on with Test in the West Indies. It's heartbreaking, because you look at Test matches in Australia and England and these places, and the crowd coming out. So I don't know if it's an economy of scale situation where the population of these other countries are so large that, granted, you could still get a portion of the people to come out. I would love for somebody to help me figure out this particular equation, because when I look at that there, let's put it up one more time there, you're seeing cricket, beautiful cricket. The first test, history being made at the Lara grounds. Never had a test there before. And from my vantage point, looking at the highlights, don't get me wrong, it have people there, but it's not what we are accustomed seeing in the days of the Queen's Park Oval in its heyday, and man like Gravy and Antigua in the stands. Let me put a pause on it, because I'll start to get emotional. Hey, congrats to the Mokojumbi King of the Southland as we head to the brief. What a real living legend when it comes to culture. You see that man called Junior Bisnath? He's a boss. And I'm happy Hugo Blanco from UNDP went down to just check him, see in real time the kind of work that Junior's doing. And there's some resources coming Junior's way to help with his cultural lessons and just giving the young people a chance and making them do something positive with their time. So well done. Up next, your boss report. Sarud steps in. After Sarud gives us the latest via the boss report, Marvin Gonzalez, former National Security Minister and opposition MP, he's going to step in to treat with the leak audio and the PDU concerns. Great first hour ahead. See you soon.
Get a loan at Bremont. The process is simple. Fast and efficient approvals. Receive funds within 24 hours once approved. And no penalty for early repayment. Located at 4 Gallows Street, Woodbrook. Remember, we like to lend.
Surfside Pool and Leisure is an exclusive distributor of Hayward Pool products in Trinidad and Tobago. We stock industry-leading pumps, high-performance filters, pool chemicals, and sanitizers to keep your pool performing at its best. When it's time to relax, explore our range of floats, loungers, toys, and pool accessories designed for the perfect backyard experience. Visit us 150 Boundary Road, San Juan, 78 SS Aaron Road, San Fernando. Top brands, expert advice, trusted service. Call 235-7665.
Everybody only worrying. Never ever worry. Don't mind how things looking hard. I tell them never ever worry. If your nice car get damaged bad. I tell them never ever worry. What I'm saying is true. So just consider Tatil is always right here for you. I tell them never ever worry. Don't mind if life make you sad. I tell them never ever worry if your house get flooded out real bad. I tell them never ever worry. What I'm saying is true. So just consider Tatil will always be here for you.
Never worry about a thing. Tatil, where people are people. You know what I mean.
The ExxonMobil Guyana Global Super League is back. From the breathtaking landscapes of Guyana, 5 elite teams gather for cricket's greatest global showdown. The Guyana Amazon Warriors, Lahore Kalandars, Desert Vipers, Perth Scorchers 11 and the San Francisco Unicorns. 5 teams, 12 matches, $1 million on the line. From July 23rd to August 1st, don't miss the ExxonMobil Guyana Global Super League, where champions are made.
It is time to check in with Sarud to get the latest via our big movers and shakers when we consider business. Sarud, good morning.
Good morning, GW, and good morning, Trinidad and Tobago, and welcome to the Bourse Report. Well, today we'll be shifting gears a bit. We're looking at the fixed income segment of the investment markets, which is somewhat less exciting on paper than equity markets. However, no less important, or equally important rather, to an investor's overall portfolio. Now, there have been some interesting developments taking place both on the TT dollar as well as US dollars segments or subsegments of the fixed income market. Let's take a look at what investors can or have been experiencing and what they might expect in the coming months ahead. Turning firstly to the TT dollar market, and there have been quite some interesting developments, particularly in terms of short-term rates, where we can see that the government of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, GOT yield curve, has experienced over the past 12 months a very meaningful shift upwards, with one-year rates increasing roughly 0.7% from 4.14% just a year ago to 4.83% in its most recently published Trinidad and Tobago yield curve, excuse me, as published by the Central Bank of Trinidad and Tobago. And the more medium-term tenors, there were a 45 to 48 basis point or 0.45 to 0.48% shift over the 5-year and 10-year periods, moving from just under that 5% level at the 5-year marker to just about 5.45%, while at the 10-year segment, we can see that those yields would have shifted upward as well from 5.7% to just about a 6.16%. Ultimately, what does this mean? It means that there is increasingly attractive yields on offer for investors who are willing to go out for longer and longer investment periods, particularly if you're focused on government securities. Now, at the same time, we've seen a very interesting trend in terms of relatively low, on a reported basis at least, relatively low to stable inflation, with inflation or headline inflation in this bluish line falling from 1.4% year over year as at that May 2025 period to just about 0.4% at the May 2026 reporting date. Now, what does that mean? It means prices, at least on a reported basis, are increasing at a slower rate today, or in a most recent period, relative to just about a year ago. So that also means that for investors, purchasing power in an environment where interest rates are increasing on investments is being preserved. And in fact, there's a growth in purchasing power over time if you are putting your money to work to beat that rate of inflation, which is trending lower, as we can see based on publicly available information. Now, overall, in terms of key market indicators in the TT dollar investment space, we can see that one-year repurchase agreement rates, which is somewhat of a proxy for deposit rates as well, have increased on average from just about 3.55 odd percent in just about a year ago to around just under 3.9% as at the end of June 2026. 5-year got yields or government yields, as mentioned, climbed from 4.97% steadily to 5.45%, and the 10-year government yield as well climbed steadily from that 5.7% level continuously to that 6.16% level. Now, for investors, just one caveat: bear in mind that these are yield curve estimates, and of course, based on who your investment provider is, those yields would differ slightly from the yield curve in terms of offer or investable yields. Also, one of the key market indicators we would have noticed has been continued relative tightness in terms of excess liquidity as measured by average excess reserves, and we can see that that has hovered and is actually towards the lower end of the most recent data set, falling from about $4.8 billion in June of 2025 to just about $4.25 billion at that June 2026 marker. So what does that mean? It means that liquidity circulating within the financial system, as measured by this particular proxy, is a bit on the lower end of things at this particular point in time. So looking ahead, we do expect inflation at the domestic level to remain relatively stable based on the trends that we've been observing, notwithstanding geopolitical events that have taken place, which do tend to have an impact on inflationary pressures in our local economy. Elevated interest rates are more likely to persist over the near term. Excess liquidity is expected to be on the lower end over the short term, and continued active government issuance is more likely, as well as the government continues to fund its deficits via borrowing as one of those mechanisms. And of course, that is going to mean more options in terms of investing for investors on the TT dollar space. Turning very quickly to the US side of things, of the fixed income market, well, a very similar trend. We have seen a broad shift upwards in terms of investable yields, with that July 2026 yield curve for the U.S. Treasury yields increasing across most tenors from the 5 to 30-year space, with fairly stable yields around that just above that 4% level over the 1 year, and that is probably a reflection of greater inflation expectations by the overall market in the U.S. or U.S. investable space or U.S. interest space. And we can see that being evidenced by a slow creep in both the consumer price index or CPI in that purplish segment, as well as the personal consumption expenditure index also moving up from 2.6% in that greenish line to just about 3.4% over the past 18 months or so, which is well above the Fed's 2% long-term target, the U.S. Federal Reserve rather, which does mean that inflation expectations have been growing, and that would also result ultimately in a lower probability of interest rate cuts anytime soon. Now, in terms of the impact to investment markets, we can see that there are much more attractive investment yields on offer, both in the short-term space, again, looking at that repo rate of return at around 3.5 to 4.0% over that 1 to 2 year average space. Trinidad and Tobago, in terms of their US dollar investment bond options, those yields are also appearing relatively attractive at around 5.7 to 6.1% in terms of straight government investable yields, while at the corporate level or quasi-government level, we can see that there are also some relatively attractive yields on offer. NGC's 2036 bond, for example, trading at an investment yield of on average of around 6.8% currently. Heritage Petroleum, a 2029 maturity at around 6.5%. So for investors looking at the international fixed income outlook, do we expect inflation to cool anytime soon? Well, it's on a knife's edge right now with, again, geopolitical tensions creating a high degree of uncertainty. U.S. interest rate hikes, or the lack of cuts rather, might be more likely in the near term. Bond market stabilization and stable credit ratings probably a bit at risk, or there's a greater level of uncertainty, again, all stemming from geopolitical events and that continued persistent higher than target or long-term target inflationary figure. So ultimately, for fixed income investors, what are some of the key takeaways at this particular point in time? Well, both in terms of whether you're a TT dollar or a US dollar investor, there are improved returns on offer. Fixed income still offers a high degree of principal preservation, whether you are looking at a TT or an US dollar investment space. Within the US dollar space, there is a greater level of issuer diversification, whereas in the Trinidad and Tobago dollar space, there is a slightly lower level of issuer diversification, with the primary investment options typically being government securities, whereas with increased government issuance, both in the local space and, of course, a global menu of investment options in the US dollar space, there continues to be a lot more options for investors in terms of diversification by maturity, meaning that you can tailor your portfolio to your particular liquidity preferences, risk preferences, and of course, investment time horizon preferences. Well, that's it for this week's edition. For more information, you can give us a call at 226-8773 or to Boss, email us at info@bossfinancial.com. And of course, you can check out our website, bossinvestment.com, where all of our research is absolutely free. And you can catch this article in today's business section of the Trinidad and Tobago Guardian newspaper. So until next time, stay safe, happy investing, and we'll see you again on the Boss Report.
Let's do this. You can get the help you need to succeed with Rand Credit Union. You can believe that you can achieve. Big goals, small ones too. Rand Credit Union, we've got you. No more waiting, that won't do. Make someday today. One life, so make it good. Live the way you know you should. With Rand Credit Union, yes you could. Make someday today.
Live your best life today with Rand Credit Union.
Period nights don't have to look like this. Move less, wake up to change. So change for a real night's sleep with Always Overnight. Its 3 times protection system absorbs, locks the fluid, and keeps it away from your skin. For protected nights without leaks. Always.
Hey, man. Where are you? Okay. He said 5 minutes. Anyone want dessert? Maybe he's stuck at the office?
Surprise!
Not yet, Carl.
Bro, I'm literally at the altar right now.
Relax. I'm almost there.
We're like the friend who isn't always late.
You have the rings.
CG United. Good like that.
Calling all filmmakers, producers, content creators, influencers, and recording artists. If you're looking to rent a versatile studio space with green screen, video wall, cyclorama, and more, look no further. GM Labs is here to make your dreams a reality. Located in the heart of Port of Spain on St. Vincent Street, GM Labs is your one-stop shop for all your creative needs with over 2,800 square feet to work with. Take your creative concept to the final product at GM Labs. Give us a call or WhatsApp or message us on our Instagram and Facebook pages at GM Labs TT.
As mentioned earlier, Marvin Gonzalez joins me on set, opposition member of parliament, and of course, I would safely say a man who could give some perspective on what transpired not only over the weekend, but what's been going on via the public domain. He would have held the portfolio of National Security Minister of National Security, so you will have an intimate understanding of what happens behind the curtain, the apparatus, as it were. Thanks, firstly, Marvin, for being here with us this morning, and I look forward to a deeper perspective, pulling back of the layers, because we're trying to make sense of all what's going on, and we want to start firstly with that leaked audio. Many listened to it this weekend, some twice, just to confirm what they were hearing. We're actually seeing on the front page of The Guardian that legal experts are urging the government to confirm if what we heard was actually indeed authentic, and concerns overall are being raised about wiretapping. What could you tell us without, obviously, without disclosing, I guess, some of the national secrets per se, but what could you tell us about wiretapping and how that, or what apparatus is in place, or what permissions, what needs to be removed so that that could take place as it pertains to our citizenry? And welcome, Marvin.
So thank you very much, Jason, and good morning to your viewers, listeners, Trinidad and Tobago. What transpired a couple of days ago when there was alleged leak of intercepted communications involving the Hadids is very troubling. It's a very troubling development at many different levels. Now, first to begin, the Interception of Communications Act is the act that governs interception of communications in Trinidad and Tobago. And from a summary perspective, the act allows for 3 office holders to apply to the court to get a warrant to intercept communications based on information, targets, etc. of citizens. The 3 office holders are the Chief of Defense Staff, the Commissioner of Police, and the Director of the SSE. They can apply to the court in accordance with the act to get a warrant of authorization to intercept the communication of any specific target or citizen based on information that they may have that the person may be communicating to undermine state security, etc., or the commission of any serious crimes. The internal dynamics of these organizations, the TGPS, the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force, and the SSA, will govern when and how you treat with intercepted communications. The Act also provides for the unauthorized disclosure or interception of communication, because it's a very sensitive matter. These matters are very, very sensitive. So sensitive that the Act makes provision for the commission of a criminal offense for any unauthorized disclosure of intercepted communication. And that offense is a fine of $250,000 and imprisonment of 2 or 3 years. So serious it is. So when the country woke up to this disclosure of alleged interception of communication by the Hadid or someone that is in prison as we speak or is in detention as we speak, and days after, even up to today, the Commissioner of Police, who is an authorized officer under the Act, the Chief of Defense Staff, and the Director of the SSE have not spoken to the country on this very serious issue. And by not so doing, they have damaged the confidence that citizens ought to have, not only in their offices, but in state security. And it sends a very dangerous signal to our international partners that we in Trinidad and Tobago are not serious with respect to intelligence and the management of intercepted communications.
So in essence, this is a very severe breach, and in that regard, who should be held accountable? I know you mentioned 3 personalities just now.
And that is the magic question, because under the law, those 3 office holders have the authority to go get a warrant to intercept the communication of targets. And when you have a situation where alleged intercepted material has been placed or dumped in the public domain, the 3 office holders have a duty to speak to the country as to whether or not what was in fact disclosed on the internet was or is intercepted material, and what led to the disclosure of this thing. Now, if you allow me to just go back a bit. On the 4th of October 2025, there was a reorganization of responsibilities in the cabinet of Trinidad and Tobago. So after the elections, you had the appointment of officers, ministers, etc. But on the 4th of October 2025, a legal notice was published where certain responsibilities were removed from some office holders, government ministers, and placed under other government ministers. With respect to the Attorney General, that legal notice removed some responsibilities under that ministry, and it also added other responsibilities under that ministry. Interestingly, at the end of the legal notice or the schedule, responsibility for the SSA, intelligence and operations was placed under the Office of the Attorney General. And therefore, the Attorney General himself cannot remain, and he does not have the luxury of being silent on this very matter. Because in that schedule, which was published on October the 4th, 2025, responsibility for the SSA, particularly intelligence and operations, have been placed under his responsibility. And therefore he, the Attorney General, does not have the luxury of being silent, and he must come out and explain to the country.
Let me ask you, Member of Parliament Gonzalez, do you believe this was done intentionally to almost justify, I would imagine, the arrest of Star Sabga and the Hadids? Because again, we can't deny the politics and the elephant that's in the room. The fact that statements were made in Parliament, literally weeks after we saw the arrest of the Hadids, who are described as, and I don't like it, the term the 1%. Granted, they were the ones that bestowed that particular title upon themselves.
One person.
One person.
In that community.
One person in the community on an interview on CNN, and it kind of stuck. And I don't like the connotation of it, but nonetheless, a statement was made, we saw an arrest, and then the leak is out, and some people are saying, and this is just for the sake of the discussion, some people are suggesting that even though in the tape nothing was really said damning, the reality is that these folks might have the means to make it happen. Hence the reason the arrest. That was the reasoning or the justification for many over the weekend when this circular debate was happening.
You see, let's go back a bit. When we had the debate in the Parliament on the extension of the SOE, the Attorney General stood up in Parliament and he made reference, quoting the same gentleman, I think it's Anthony Bourdain or something.
Anthony Bourdain, yes.
Referencing members of the Syrian Lebanese community in Trinidad and Tobago as the powerful 1%. And the Attorney General stood in that debate in the Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago as Attorney General, and he made reference to 1% who are similar to the 6th gang and the 7th gang, and they live in Bayshore, and threatened the issuance of preventative detention orders, and that if you provoke and you do certain things, my friend from Tunapuna, referring to the Minister of Homeland Security, will not hesitate to issue a preventative detention order against you. Then he made reference to lands and the alleged stealing of state lands. The Attorney General made these ludicrous statements and put it on the hands of Parliament. And weeks after, the police swooped down on the home of the Hadids in West Moorings and arrested them for an alleged assassination plot on the Prime Minister and senior government ministers. Now, days passed and they were not placed on any criminal charges for the alleged plot. But days passed when they could not justify their further detention. What happened? They issued a PDO under emergency powers to keep them in detention. That should have immediately sparked a serious red flag to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. That the fact after 3 days, you could not put them on any criminal charges based on alleged plot to assassinate the Prime Minister. You issue and you invoke powers under the emergency circumstances in Trinidad and Tobago to keep them in detention, tells you that the state officials not having evidence to put persons before a court, they are abusing the use of PDOs to detain innocent citizens. They reach a stage because the Hadids have means and they can fight their rights before the courts, and all of the way to the Privy Council. The Privy Council shut their doors on the government of Trinidad and Tobago. The Minister of Homeland Security was left with no other choice but to revoke the preventative detention orders, and then days after, you issue this leak video to somehow change the narrative.
The audio. You know, the interesting thing is, and you said it there, you know, as I mentioned, many argue that, okay, they might have the means to follow through with the said plot, but they also have the means to, as you said, fight the case. And they were able to do that, hence the reason they're back in their home today. What about those who don't have the means
and that's the point.
to fight the state?
When the first state of emergency came to an end on the 31st of January this year, hundreds of people left the detention centers in East Trinidad because they were incarcerated for months under emergency powers, but not having the means to challenge the state. They were kept in detention for months, my brother. Their family lives were shattered. Their lives were shattered. Even constituents in my constituency, their wives, their children came because they could not provide means for them to eat and send their children to school. But they don't have the financial means to fight the system and to ventilate their issues before a court or to retain expensive attorneys to fight their case before the courts. And that is the issue that we have been raising for months. Because what you have in Trinidad and Tobago is the government, because it is the government, it is the minister that signs a preventative detention order, not having the evidence to put persons and to deal with the crime situation and the gang issues at its root causes, violating the rights of citizens by using a PDO system to incarcerate persons and not gathering evidence to put persons before the court on serious criminal charges.
Is this the most severe abuse of power you have seen in recent history, in recent times?
I have never seen anything like that in the history of Trinidad and Tobago. I am telling you that hundreds of our people living in Port of Spain, in Laventille, in Diego Martin, Central Trinidad, and Tobago, their lives have been shattered because the government, not having evidence to put those persons before the court, they are violating the powers given to them by emergency powers, and they have incarcerated hundreds of our young men and young women under this PDO system. And it is, to me, one of the most egregious constitutional breaches that ever take place in the history of Trinidad and Tobago by a government against its citizens.
What should be what ideally would work best as it pertains to the issuance of the PDOs? Because right now it's in the hands of one person, which is the Minister of Homeland Security. What should be the layers in place to ensure that a PDO is ventilated correctly and, you know, there are certain checks and balances as opposed to one man having that ultimate sign-off?
The check and balance was the tribunal appointed by the Chief Justice. I think it comprises of 3 persons that was put in place so that persons who have been incarcerated by a PDO, they can go and take their matter with their attorneys before the tribunal and ask the Minister of Homeland Security to justify his decision to issue a preventative detention order with respect to any particular citizen. Our understanding, and based on what transpired in the Hadid's case, where the tribunal recommended the release of the Hadids, based on the fact that the evidence or the information, not the evidence, but the information and the intelligence that the state utilized to issue a PDO in respect of the Hadids does not justify their further detention. So they issue a decision. Guess what? The minister refused the recommendation of the tribunal. A tribunal that was put in place to act as a buffer, to act as a check and balance against the exercise of the powers of the minister. The law and the regulations in respect to this with this matter does not give the minister or place an obligation upon the minister to abide by the decision of the tribunal. That, to me, is a serious matter, because the very tribunal that was put in place to act as a check and balance on the minister's power, the minister does not have the authority, does not have the obligation, the legal obligation to comply. And that is a very serious matter, because it takes it back again to the minister having the power to issue a PDO and does not have the authority to abide by the final decision of a review tribunal. That is a very serious issue.
Let me ask you, MP Gonzalez, do you believe that heads will rule for this, even though we know that might not be the reality of the moment, because that's just the nature of the politics. We don't really see that kind of honor that you'll see in places like England and these faces where a man will naturally say, you know what, it's looking good, I'll exit stage left. But if indeed there was to be any kind of accountability for this, who are the people you believe that need to answer? You would have mentioned earlier the AG, you mentioned the commissioner. Who else needs to really talk directly to the nation and explain what happened here?
The Prime Minister must take responsibility for the management of Trinidad and Tobago. The Prime Minister is very silent. The Prime Minister has not appeared before a post-cabinet press conference for over a year. The Prime Minister has not subjected herself to members of the media where she can be put in a position to answer these very serious matters of governance in Trinidad and Tobago. The Prime Minister must take responsibility in addition to the Attorney General, who has a very checkered past, and as far as I am concerned, is unfit to hold the office of Attorney General in Trinidad and Tobago. He is silent. The Minister of Homeland Security chooses to speak to who he wants to speak to. The Commissioner of Police is very silent in this matter. Days after this horrific disclosure of leak audio, he's silent. The head of the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force, all of these office holders are all silent when citizens are living in deep fear. A state of emergency that was called to tackle crime and to tackle criminals and to put criminals on the run. Our circumstances today in Trinidad and Tobago is that citizens are living in fear of the state, because the state is now using emergency powers against the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, and that must be brought to an end. As far as I'm concerned, there should be a commission of inquiry with respect to the state's use of PDOs under these emergency regulations, and the Prime Minister, the Attorney General, the Commissioner of Police, the Chief of Defense Staff, the head of the SSA, they must all go before a commission of inquiry and account to the people of Trinidad and Tobago on this very, very serious matter.
You know, interesting you said the state, MP Gonzalez, because I've recognized the state and the TTPS, they're in lockstep as it pertains to Balize House. Again, utterances made in Parliament, and literally weeks after, we have seen where papers would have been served. The big I guess concern on the ground is that people are asking, okay, we knew what Balize House was before, we see what it is now after the refurbishment. People trying to figure out how it went from what it was to what it is now under raffle and kick sale, and I guess people trying to maximize it,
yes.
Right? Are you in any way concerned about this investigation now that's being opened up on the refurbishment, as it were, of Balize House?
I am not concerned to the extent that the PNM is not in a position to justify the measures and the means in which it got its revenue, its donations, etc., for the construction or the renovation of Balize House and the construction of the new building. The PNM is a 70-year-old institution with supporters and members far and wide making contribution because they believe in Trinidad and Tobago and they believe in the PNM, what the PNM has done for this country. So I have no concern about that. That will take its course before the courts of Trinidad and Tobago, and we will expose the Attorney General and those who are supporting him in his nonsense where this matter is concerned. What I am concerned about, however, is the fact that the police is relying on a report that was commissioned by the Attorney General of Trinidad and Tobago, who, the same Attorney General, stood in the Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago and pointed to members of the opposition, saying that I am going to war with you, with you, with you, with you. The same Attorney General and the Prime Minister who made all kinds of negative statements about the construction of Balize House, even when they were in opposition, now that they're in government, that it was constructed by drug money. A report that was commissioned by the Attorney General, perhaps on the instruction, I don't know, of the Prime Minister, dated June the 16th or June the 17th, 2026, somehow found its way on the desk of the Commissioner of Police. And after 2 or 3 weeks, after receiving that report, the police made an application for a preliminary unexplained your wealth order from a report not commissioned by the police, not a criminal investigation triggered by the police, not on the guidance of the Director of Public Prosecution, which is the constitutional safeguard to ensure that we do not have malicious and politically motivated prosecution or investigation. The Commissioner of Police somehow got a report that was triggered by the Attorney General and use that report 2 weeks after to go before the courts to get an unexplained your wealth, a preliminary unexplained your wealth order. I am concerned that the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, and by extension the Commissioner of Police, they are now an appendage of the Attorney General's office and the United National Congress. That is what I am concerned about. And the people of Trinidad and Tobago ought to be very careful. And I want to warn the Commissioner of Police here this morning to be very careful with the people that he's associating with in this government. And perhaps he should take the opportunity and educate himself about John Jeremy. Because the people in the UNC will tell you that it was in 2029, the Law Association passed 2 motions against John Jeremy. And those 2 motions are interfering with the independent office of the DPP and for pursuing politically motivated criminal investigation.
Let me ask you, what's the actual correct year? I know you said 2029. Is it 2019 you want to say?
For what?
You said in terms of when they open up this investigation on John Jeremy. You said 2029, but we're not...
Sorry, not 2029, 2009.
2009.
2009,
okay.
That's correct.
Okay.
So 2009, the Law Association passed 2 motions. Successfully passed 2 motions against John Jeremy. You understand? And those 2 motions were in relation to when he was acting, or when he acted as Attorney General, for undermining the independent office of the DPP and for pursuing politically motivated criminal investigation.
So you're saying to me this morning that based on what's out there in the public record, based on the evidence, based on what we're seeing via the news cycle, the Commissioner, the AG, and by extension the government are in lockstep. They're in tandem, they're in rhythm?
The evidence so far is supporting that reality. It is not something that I enjoy saying. I have been observing what is taking place. And the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago have serious concerns as an elected member of parliament, and as I move around the country, and as I move around my constituency, people are expressing serious concerns as to whether or not the government is in control of the office of the Commissioner of Police.
And in that regard, as we look to wind down, what's the plan to ask the questions to ramp up the particular momentum? I mean, that's the role of the opposition to challenge the powers that be, to speak on behalf, I would imagine, of those who might see themselves on the wrong side of a particular administration. What's the plan really to bring this into focus and to highlight what's happening?
The PNM has its work cut out. The opposition PNM has its work cut out. And we have to go to every corner in every community to keep this society engaged on all of these issues that we have discussed here this morning. But this is not only work for the PNM. This is work for every right-thinking citizen. This is work for every right-thinking community group. This is work for all of the associations, the Law Association. Everyone has a responsibility.
But you realize under this SOE, a lot of people are indeed kind of nervous and apprehensive about speaking up, you know, Marvin.
And that is a fact.
That's the reality at the moment.
That is a fact. People are afraid to go on social media to express their concerns because they believe that the government is going to issue a PDO. I want to take a challenge to some of my legal colleagues who they are only motivated to say certain things when it is politically convenient to them, especially some of them who took offense to me burning a document in front of Balize House to express my outrage and the outrage of the people of Trinidad and Tobago on this matter concerning Balize House, and they took issue with me for that. I want to challenge those legal professionals and to let them know that they have a responsibility to guard and defend the constitutional rights of the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, especially given what we are facing today. It's not only about money. It's not only about money. A lot of these attorneys made a lot of money over the years. And therefore, I am asking the Law Association and I am asking legal professionals to come forward and challenge the government transgression on the rights of the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Not all of these citizens have the legal means and the financial means, to do it. But if we can get attorneys to come forward and challenge the government before the courts to bring an end to this injustice.
MP Gonzalez, in the seconds that remain, I'll give you a chance to put in some closing remarks.
Again, I want to say that this is not only a matter for the People's National Movement. The PNM will continue to ramp up its political activities to expose this government and all of their transgressions and injustices on the people. But this is a fight for all of us. And this is a fight for all organizations and associations. And we must not be afraid of the emergency powers that the government have given to itself. If we come together, we can bring this government to account, and we can put pressure on them and push them back in order to protect this beautiful country that we love. This country does not belong to them. They are a danger to this country. And if we can all come together, regardless of our political affiliation, how we feel, but if we love this country and we come together, the government can be put where they belong, and we can preserve this land that we call Trinidad and Tobago.
Member of Parliament Marvin Gonzalez, thanks for coming.
Thank you very much.
This morning.
Blessings, man.
For sure.
Thank you.
With that, we get ready for the pause. We get into our 7 a.m. news update, and we come up with your calls after 7.
Magical Expressions Limited is the largest local importer and distributor of fresh cut stems, offering the widest range of beautiful flowers at the most affordable prices. Call us today at 701-6488 or visit our website to order.
Things don't always go as expected. Be ready with Trinry for auto, home, business and group life. Call us at 800-TRIN or visit trinry.com today. Huge insurance premium. Pay your premiums bit by bit with FlexiPay from Trinry. For more manageable auto, home and commercial insurance payments, call us at 800-TRIN or visit trinry.com today. Trinry, premier insurance coverage for less.
KC Ginger Mint, your trusted and natural wellness. Now with healthier options. KC Ginger Mint with honey and lime. KC Ginger Mint with orange and KC Ginger Mint with lemon. KC Ginger, honey, lemon, lime, and orange. Natural and trusted for generations for soothing sore throats and digestion and boost immunity. Get your new KC Candy Ginger Mint extended range today and breathe naturally.
School closed and traffic light, so your house could finally get some attention. And at ABC Doors and Windows, our regular prices going on vacation too. From July 25th to August 8th, shop our mid-year home upgrade sale and enjoy a minimum 10% off store-wide. Get 10% off wooden doors, steel security doors and locks, 15% off windows, quartz countertops and aluminum sliding doors, and 20% off SPC flooring. Before the back-to-school rush starts, upgrade for less at ABC Doors and Windows, number 1 Chanca Trace, El Socorro South.
Heart disease is the #1 cause of death in Trinidad and Tobago, driven by 2 silent threats, diabetes and high cholesterol. But now there's a powerful ally, introducing Berberine Plus by Asia Nutrition, clinically proven to stabilize blood sugar and keep cholesterol levels in check. With 99.9% pure extract, you get superior absorption and real results. Available now at Pennywise and leading pharmacies nationwide. Berberine Plus. Your heart deserves better.
The Israelite Church of God in Jesus Christ, teaching the truth about God's people, God's plans, and the secrets of God, all written within the pages of the Holy Bible, which is the Word of God. Watch The Hidden Truth every Thursday at 5:30 a.m. to 6 a.m. on CNC3.
The ExxonMobil Guyana Global Super League is back. From the breathtaking landscapes of Guyana, 5 elite teams gather for cricket's greatest global showdown. The Guyana Amazon Warriors, Lahore Kalandars, Desert Vipers, Perth Scorchers 11 and the San Francisco Unicorns. 5 teams, 12 matches, $1 million on the line. From July 23rd to August 1st, don't miss the ExxonMobil Guyana Global Super League, where champions are made.
Time Check, brought to you by the Central Bank and the National Financial Literacy Program.
Good morning, I am Chester Sambrano with headline news on CNC3 and the TBC radio network. Amid concerns of a brewing gang war in Morvar, residents in several affected communities are hopeful that peace and unity can be restored. But without proper social interventions, some fear that the problem would only get worse. Laventille East Morvar MP Christian Birchwood laments the spate of murders, noting that while crime is the most visible problem, it's only one part of a much wider issue affecting neighborhoods, as he appealed for urgent community-level intervention to take away the appeal of criminality for young people.
By extension, I would say we have a societal problem that needs to be fixed, right? That is the only way I could see someone using a weapon to end another person's life.
To some other news, a Venezuelan man is dead, while 2 others survived after a pirogue allegedly carrying copper to Venezuela sank in rough seas off Iquitos between Friday night and Saturday morning. The incident comes just days after another pirogue capsized off Losiro, killing 2 Venezuelan migrants, including a 6-year-old girl. Head of the Hunter Search and Rescue Team, Valence Rambarat, says the boat allegedly left Erin Beach loaded with copper. 3 Venezuelans and 1 Trinidadian male were on board when the boat overturned around 6 o'clock on Saturday.
We could confirm he swam and came out in the Iquitos village. 2 others were clinging to a fuel tank, and one unfortunately lost his life, and his body was recovered here in Iquitos.
More than 1,000 pounds of plastic bottles, wrappers, glass and other household waste were removed from the mangroves along the Cunupia River on Saturday. The cleanup, led by Kalpoo's Bird Sanctuary Tours, drew volunteers, forestry officials, environmental groups and Agriculture Minister Ravi Ratiram. Volunteers braved the mosquito-infested mangroves to clear debris trapped among the roots. Ratiram says the effort helps protect one of Trinidad and Tobago's most important mangrove ecosystems and supports the country's biodiversity and tourism.
It really creates a golden opportunity for us with respect to local, domestic, and even regional and international tourism, because we have people from all over the world coming here to Trinidad and Tobago to enjoy what our mangroves and our wetlands have to offer. Our scarlet ibis, our flamingos, and all the other animals that are there in the mangrove. People take tours from all over the world to come here to Trinidad to enjoy that.
Well, stay tuned for another news update at the top of the hour and for comprehensive coverage in our midday newscast and major newscast at 7 p.m. on CNC3.
Three minutes after 7 o'clock on this Monday morning, and I'm looking at some footage here. We're about to show it to you. Wendell Eversley, activist, who would have been on the program with me a couple of times. He embarks yet again on his walk of remembrance, his walk of just keeping this particular moment in the public domain. And again, it goes to show, I mean, this proves to me yet again that is either one, we really don't care, or again, part of the history is lost. Because Wendell, if the day Wendell stops this walk, that's it, you know. He's the only man. And I guess for him it's very personal because he was actually in Parliament on that fateful Friday, July 27th, 1990. He was there. Interestingly, the first time I think he went in, he just went in the docks to take in the parliamentarian speak, and well, so be it that, you know, being there at the particular moment and time when all this transpired, and he lived it, he lived through it, the trauma, the stress. A matter of fact, when he will come on the program, and anytime he brings up the coup, I'm telling you, I want the nation to actually see me when I tell you what I'm about to tell you here. I'll be on the chair here, you know, remember the set is very, it's close proximity. I'll be in my seat, Wendell will be seated right there. And on 2 occasions, I remember when we brought up this discussion of the coup, all these years after, the man will still well up, tears will come to the man. Nikisha, you remember that? At that time, the man cried. The man, tears rolling down the man's face. Just think about it. 5 days held captive. People being shot around you, people dead. You're getting the smell of death. It was nice. And I'm telling you, there are people I've known for years from when I started my career on Maraval Road who were part of it, who were involved, who were there as hostage. And they still can't open up about it up to this day, all these years after. So I go back to what I would have mentioned earlier, that it's important for us to stay on top of the history, to let the generation coming up know exactly what transpired. And we can't just celebrate and put in the lights all the great we would have done. There were some dark moments, dark clouds. And if we don't want to go through that again, it's important that we learn from the past. Wendell, keep up the great work, bro. And he's heading to the city to do his regular, laying of the wreath, and he'll have a speech outside the said parliament. He started this morning, I believe, from what I'm seeing in the papers here, from since after 5, actually. What time he started, boy? After 5? 5:30. 5:30. So well done in Eversley. But look, again, by himself. We really, Faizo, morning Faizo, we don't care, Faizo, we really do business in this place, That's the reality at the moment. Morning, Faizo.
Yeah, good morning, sir.
Morning, Faizo.
Yeah, brother.
Yes,
let me just remind Mr. Marvin Gonzalez, the house arrest of Ocasio-Paul. Like he seems to have short memories. And then we had the persecution of Mr. Satnarayan Sharma. Yes? Mm-hmm. Now, more than that, if we could take Faris Alwari as Attorney General to Trinidad and Tobago, then I see no reason why we shouldn't take John Jeremy. Alwari is the worst Attorney General that Trinidad and Tobago have ever seen. Now, Jason, what was suspicious, as soon as the PNM got out of office, works on Balize House came to an immediate halt. You follow what I'm saying? So there are reason to be concerned about it. There are reason to be concerned, and I welcome the investigation whichever way it goes. Another thing I want to remind Mr. Brother Marvin, a recommendation is simply a recommendation. Once the law is structured as how it is, whether it was under the PNM or the UNC, a recommendation remains a recommendation. You don't have to take a recommendation. Yes, my brother?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you, Faizo. Open forum time, a chance for you to express yourself. I sit, I listen, and we try to take some notes here. Let's head to Freeport, I believe it is. Freeport, good morning.
Good morning, JW. How are you?
All is well. I'm listening. Go ahead.
No, I'm not a person who likes to talk about politics or what is happening, but I will say this about trust. I listened to the person you interviewed last, and he said something about when some people cannot trust the government, that's a very dark place to be.
Hello?
Formal institution is a bad light for any country. Mm-hmm. Because for a government or a country, you have to have trust. And if you don't have trust, and people to lose that faith is a bad place to be. I don't want to get too deep because I'm not really into politics. I'm more into the acts. But it's a bad place to be because lose trust, it spells a doomsday for us as a people. Now, I've been talking to youth within this given society. They have lost faith in government and they're losing the faith. I'm talking about plural government, not a singular, plural. Mm-hmm. And I can tell you from my personal experiences, losing that faith, all I can say is that spells a bad recipe for disaster. Once you lose faith in a system, the state starts to fail. And once the state starts to fail, we all fail.
Yep.
So again, trust is important. In anything you do, trust and accountability. Once that's not placed to the forefront, we lose credibility. And once credibility has been lost as a media, but know that.
We're breaking up there, boy. Freeport, you're breaking up a little bit there, but I understand the gist of what you're saying. You're talking about trust. And yes, whether it's a relationship, whether it's government, whether it's, you name it, once trust is lost, we find ourselves in a real ticklish place, between a rock and a hard place. Let's head to Dabadi, see what's happening with Dabadi on the line. Good morning, Dabadi.
Good morning.
Welcome. Go right ahead. I'm listening.
Good morning. I'm calling to talk about the state of the environment. I am really, really concerned because the place has bush, garbage, plastic bottles, the entire country. Don't care where you go. The place looks so unkempt. I do not feel that as citizens we should sit down and allow this to happen. I feel something should be done to have the entire country clean up, enforce the little laws, and do something about it. We cannot talk about bringing people to visit. I can't bring a visitor here. Everywhere I go, the place looks so dirty. High bush, all along the party bus with garbage, plastic bags, all in. Really speaking, it is very disgusting, it's sickening, it's disheartening, and I feel very emotional when I see the state of the country. And I feel citizens are not even, we just living with the garbage now. Yeah. So it is coming the norm. And I feel that's something we need, a national month of cleanup. Do something to get this country back into some semblance of order. I mean, we are dealing with so many issues, but really speaking, I am concerned about the condition. There's bush everywhere. Every crevice and corner you look at, piles of garbage. Please, let something be done about this country. We can't keep living in such a dirty environment, and it's becoming the norm. We stand by the street corner with garbage all around us.
Thank you,
I'm
Dabadi.
very concerned about it.
Thank you, Dabadi. A very important message there. I guess, the onus will always be on us to, take care of our immediate environment, our immediate premises. But I know there are certain people who probably do have the capacity, do have the resources, and that's where I guess the corporation and other agencies come in to help with the cleanup. But yes, Dabadi, I hear you. I see what's going on too. It's really been terrible for a long time. And it's almost like it's becoming the norm. You're turning a blind eye to it. And I'll use an example after I hear from my friend here. I believe there's another call from Dabadi, is it? Oh, Enterprise. Good morning, Enterprise. Welcome.
Captain J.
Hey. Blessed.
It's you, your colleagues, and those who have you.
Welcome.
I was listening to Mr. Faisal just now, right? Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And he spoke about a certain judge, SS. I wanted to understand what I said. I remember I went before this judge some time ago. I had an appeal with one of the panels. And his statement was that I am unredeemable. Okay, sir? I'll quote again Justice Paula May, which I also went before her. And she made a comment before sentencing that I was one of the most intelligent accused that ever appeared before her. She mentioned my intelligence, my eloquence, the gift that I have, and I ran afoul at the door. That was in the 90s. I just still remember that. I want to compliment her. Right? But what I'm saying, Captain, that's what I'm saying. I do believe that we're ready for no Caribbean Court of Appeal. Right? Because the same judge the gentleman spoke about, I saying he was guilty. He had a criminal offense pending. The reason why matter didn't finish, a gentleman from Wellington didn't give no evidence to the matter was thrown out. Then he had misbehavior in public office. The reason why that wasn't tried because he passed on, may his whole rest in peace. just now I saying that I believe from my if you have a carbon quota of a pin, somebody could pick up a phone in Trinidad, ring so and so comment before you. I just showing you, do you believe anybody could call the Privy Council number 10 Downing Street?
Well, you see, again, on Enterprise, the thing is, I understand because you spend time inside the system, you understand it in a much deeper way that I will ever understand it. But my thing is Enterprise, and I want you to listen, and you could call back too, because I want during the week for us to continue this conversation. I've always maintained Trellan from Freeport, North Tobert Trust. We clearly don't even trust ourselves. We don't trust ourselves, and we've been independent for all these years. We still trust England to make a decision on our behalf, because ultimately it boils down to trust. We don't trust ourselves. We believe someone could be compromised. A call could make, we could shoot a call, we could try to swing things in our favor. So are we really independent? Are we truly, away from this colonial trappings that would have held us for all these years? So, we find ourselves, again, between a rock and a hard place. Let's hear from Shogunas to wrap things up on this Monday. Shogunas, good morning.
Yes, and good morning, Jason.
Welcome.
Jason, a couple of quarters ago, we went to the environment. They made a statement in connection with the dirtiness of the place and everything like that. Now, it's one thing that the grass probably need cutting and everything like that, right? But as for where the littering is concerned, I detest littering, right? Jason, I detest littering to the max, right? I believe that everybody ought to have the level of intelligence and responsibility to put their garbage in a bin. If it is they don't have a bin, hold it with you. Put it in a bag. The same bag, buy something to eat in. Put the wrapper back in the bag until you could get to a bin. Understand what I'm saying, right? Because we all have a role to play relevant to the cleanliness of the environment, right? And I'm a big person as far as eco is concerned, right? Because I believe that when we throw things into the river, when we throw things into the sea and everything, we poison the same fish that we are going to eat, right? So I think people need to take a greater responsibility as far as that is concerned. Jason, where I'm calling this morning in connection with the PDOs. I am not against happiness, I am not against happiness in any way. So I am thankful to the fact that these two Hadid people, they could have gone home, right? And I wish that was the case for everybody who is in that situation, right? But how is it that it raises an eyebrow of concern that how is it now that that they have gotten through with this, that the National Security Minister has come now and said that that he now take a good look at it. So we was doing all the time. Understand what I'm saying, Jason? Jason, I am a very fair person, right? And I like to think that everybody should be treated equally, right? So it doesn't matter if it is that you're from where, right? I don't stigmatize nobody, because at the end of the day, we don't control where we come from, but we control who we are. All right? So Jason, I just want to say that, and to Trinidad, today's Monday, that we get up and do what we have to do. All right? Take care, Jason.
Thanks, Shogunas. Appreciate it. To all the callers, I want to thank you for the commentary from Faizo, who started things off very sharp. Faizo, you don't forget at all, Faizo brought back some archives. But yes, to the caller from Dabadi, I agree. We need to, as I said, take responsibility for our premises, but for those who don't have the capacity or don't have the resources, I guess that's where as I mentioned, cooperation will step in. But we find ourselves in a place where, oh my goodness, it's really, really a shambles. Thanks for all the calls. Let's head now to the next conversation, Economic Outlook, with Professor Roger Hussein. He joins me next.
Shop and save at PRW Enterprises. Get a Samsung 75-inch TV, only $8,535. PS5 console game, only $4,800. Samsung A9 tablet, $1,199. JBL soundbar, $1,968. Printers from $650. Blenori Drone X60, only $786. Party speaker box, $2,500. Call PRW today.
Textbooks, screens, late nights. Your eyes work hard through every class, exam, project, and deadline. Ferrara Optical has eyewear specifically designed to reduce eye strain so nothing holds your learning back. For a limited time, youth get a free frame with lenses from just $495. Scholars get frame and lenses starting at only $750. And lifelong learners save up to 30% off your purchase of advanced lenses like Eisen and Transitions. Less strain, more focus. Your vision without limits. Visit Ferrara Optical in store today. This promotion is NLCB approved.
So the younger one complaining that the older one is the favorite one. That is pressure. Always aim to treat your children fairly and impartially and do it consistently. Each child is different and will not learn or understand the same way. Take your time in tense situations to control your emotions and reactions and be mindful of any potential favoritism. Favoritism can lead to resentment and jealousy. At the end of the day, do your best. Share if you found this useful. Like and follow CTA's profiles for more parenting tips. The letter of the day is J. Just.
Professor Roger Hussein joins me yet again to have an impactful conversation on the economic outlook of our twin island state, Trinidad and Tobago. Professor Hussein, good morning to you and welcome. Great to see you.
Good morning and thank you for the invitation.
I want you to explain to the viewing audience the importance of the S&P ratings, its significance, and where we stand as a twin island state when we consider our economic outlook.
Well, I would go a little beyond that if you don't mind. There are 3 reports that came out recently, the IMF Article 4 report, the S&P report, and on Friday, the CSO issued its labor force survey for the first quarter of 2026. And the 3 reports basically say the same thing, is that the recovery is slow, it is fragile, and that there is considerable work to be done moving forward. I in fact took the liberty of doing a few graphs and sending to you all. I don't know if they have it already. You know,
we have the graphs. So as we put it up, I want you to ventilate what we're seeing on screen.
Right. So
what's this one here?
In this first graph here, what you are seeing, the orange line is real GDP growth. And I converted it into an index number, and you are seeing there real GDP growth, how it declined over time. So, you know, I come on these type of conversations and I explain to the public that this economy is in a bad position in the sense that you are very clearly seeing that the level of economic activity in 2021, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, it's much lower than in 2014.
Let me see the graph again. Let me just, I saw something interesting. I want you to just, let me go back to the graph for a moment. Literally from,
take the graph up,
so I'm seeing from 2015, it started to go down, and well, of course, 2020 with the COVID, it went like below the, I mean, limbo low, and it started to go up a little bit in around 23, 24, but we started dip again in 26.
Right, so that's kind of like an anomaly, because if you have to really focus on 2019. If you could keep the graph up, you really have to focus on 2019. And so if you compare any of the post-2020 information with 2019, you will get an idea of where we are going and how we are going. Now, what this is saying is that, so you are quite right, in 2022, 3, 4, you are seeing a marginal increase. But remember, the economy was closed. The economy started to open, so the labor force participation rate, which would have gone down, started to gradually come up as the economy reopened. So some of that is what you call reopening the economy, economic activity. The real test is what happened to economic activity in 24, 25, 26 is what I would say. And you are seeing it still remains subdued in relation to 2019. And if you go back to the same graph, you would see that there are significant amount of natural gas was produced. I use cumulative numbers, was produced, and yet still economic activity is still down. That is to show you how badly located this economy is. We produce a significant amount of natural gas, and even after that, the economy is still stuttering and in a trying position. So we have a long road ahead to go. It will take some solid work. I've said on this channel before, I do not envy Dave Tanko and the hand he was dealt. It's a long way ahead and a lot of work to be done to reverse and to improve this economy consistently.
Professor, the next graph, I want you to elaborate what we are about to see. What's going on here?
Okay, so this is actually the first graph. What I did is I split the graph into several parts. This is the first one, so no problem. It's showing it in a clearer way with all the gas production, the relative position of economic activity in post-2021 to 2014. So you would see, I call 2014 100, so I'm comparing all the other years to 2014. And 2014 was the peak. So you are seeing numbers in the 80s in recent time, and that just shows you how much smaller our economy is, 80%, 82%, 82.2% in relation to 2014. So we have some steps to climb before we even go back to 2014 level of economic activity. You know, for people who have a problem understanding the graph, I related to the novel The Pearl, and you know, I remember John Steinbeck saying, and time would be measured from the day Kino found the pearl. So it's something like that. We are measuring economic activity against 2014.
You know what's interesting? I mean, I don't go out much other than if I have to, you know, do a promotion or actually go out and work. I'm a real home person. I guess that's the countryside of me. Growing up in country, I love home and that settings. But when I do go out, though, people are out and about, Professor. Disposable income seems to be forthcoming. I mean, you're seeing the pubs and the restaurants literally at capacity. I don't know if is it that I guess those who have are able to do that. I mean, I'm trying to figure out, I'm trying to gauge what's going on based on what I'm seeing in real time, and it doesn't seem to be any major interruption.
Good question. So let's go to the next graph. It relates to that.
All right, so let's do that. Right, walk me through what we're seeing in labor force participation.
You are seeing the labor force participation rate here. Yeah. So if you look at the data post 2021, you will see that the labor force participation rate is showing signs after 2021 of moderate or slight improvement. Moderate or slight improvement. And those people continue to work. They continue to occupy the bars and the pubs and whatnot. We don't know how much they are spending. They might be there. So, for example, somebody may be going to Massey store or they may be going to 519, but you don't know how much money they are spending now as compared to 10 years ago, 5 years ago. You must keep that in mind. They could just be going for a lime or going for basics. But what you are seeing is the labor force stabilizing a bit after 2021, 2022 thereabout, but at a low level. So there is significant room for improvement in the labor market, and therefore policymakers have to pay close attention to bring that close to 72%, which is like in the Bahamas and these other kind of countries. But 55% cannot cut it. We are far away from that mark. And even though you see it move from 58.8% in 2025 to 55.1% in 2026 first quarter, that's just marginal. It's a long way to go, but it shows from another dimension how battered the economy is. I hope you are seeing that it makes sense.
Yeah, I'm seeing it in real time. Now, you know, you always speak of formalizing the immigrant workforce. Our brothers and sisters from Venezuela and other parts who are part of the labor force now. I was talking to a guy who is from Cedrus. He understands the ground, and his concern is that, yes, many are working from overseas, but he said lots of the money is staying within the community. He doesn't see the money coming out, as it were, of the community and being part of the greater economic wheel that's turning. What's your observation in that regard as it pertains to immigration labor force?
Well, two things. One, I don't agree with that, because if you buy sunshine nuts in Cedars and you buy a Carib in Cedars and you buy a bottle of water in Cedars, the money comes back to head office and circulates the economy as the same as if you bought it in Port of Spain or Marabella or Gaspetto. So that's a myth. But the concern is this. The concern in places like Cedars and elsewhere is where these immigrants come and they work cutting a yard, cleaning a house, cleaning a drain, in the informal, non-tradable sector, then that size of the economy grows. But when they go to the supermarket and they buy a bottle of cooking oil to send back home, a pack of flour and other things, these things require foreign exchange. So they are working and earning and producing income in the non-tradable part of the economy. But when they consume goods that require the use of foreign exchange, so that the labor market via the immigrants is putting a strain, not a big one, and not a dramatic one, but not less, it's putting pressure on the use of foreign exchange, and therefore this difference between the stock of reserves the stock of reserves continue to decline. And that's why we keep saying register the Venezuelans and also use work permits that give them some kind of privileges, but that guide them in the direction of working in agriculture or in the manufacturing or in the service export-oriented sector, so that they also help to generate some of the foreign exchange that they use. It's a balancing act, but we don't have a stock of foreign exchange where we can afford a ton load of immigrants just coming here and using up our foreign exchange for consumption and sending it back to Venezuela. We don't.
Yeah, understood. I think we have one more graph for you to, believe it's one to do with jobs. Persons with jobs, well, we're looking at the graph, and as I see, we're getting towards 2026, we're kind of getting a dip. Yet it kind of plateau. It kind of just one straight line, it seems, from like around 24 to 26.
Right. So all these things show basically the same thing. Post 2021, the slide that first to begin, the peak was in 2014, and you see the slide coming down in employment. So a significant from 2014 to 2026, the economy would have lost about 60,000 and above more workers. And that's a considerable amount of workers, of employed workers to have lost. And so it's not just the supply side of the labor market with the labor force participation rate that has a problem. It's also the demand part of the market. You need to create jobs so that demand for workers expands. And this is where Kama Maharaj, JW, comes in so important, and that's ministry. Because we need work, but because the economy has become so battered, because you now have hypertension and diabetes, you have to, if I may use an analogy, you can't use one type of medicine. You have to be careful in the way you approach your health. And now we cannot depend only on economic growth. And this is something we used to say to the former Minister of Finance all the time. All growth is not growth, or not good growth. We now need economic growth that generates foreign exchange, because it's a brutally bad situation, and the economic growth must also simultaneously generate foreign exchange, and so that the jobs that you are creating don't strain the foreign exchange situation, but helps to improve the foreign exchange situation. And I hope that makes sense to you and the audience.
Yeah, it does indeed. And I want to thank you, as always, for the economic outlook. Let's touch base soon and just keep us in the loop.
No problem. Have a good day, and thank you for the invitation.
You're most welcome. You know, another relevant conversation as it pertains to dollars and cents and our spend, we're talking about a major investment, which is your vehicle. And we're seeing where this new hybrid tax is causing lots of debate, lots of conversation. We want to get some clarity on this development as we welcome, after the break, Visha Mbabwa and Rondell Fields from the TNT Automotive Dealers Association.
Things don't always go as expected. Be ready with Trinry for auto, home, business and group life. Call us at 800-TRIN or visit trinry.com today. Huge insurance premium. Pay your premiums bit by bit with FlexiPay from Trinry. For more manageable auto, home and commercial insurance payments, call us at 800-TRIN or visit trinry.com today. Trinry. Premier insurance coverage for less.
Welcome to Holiday Inn Express and Suites.
Do enjoy, Stacey. You want some coffee?
Can I have a bit?
Perfect then.
That's exactly what we need.
Hi, the pool is this way.
Whatever you're here for, we're here for you. Stay smart at the Holiday Inn Express and Suites.
This is more than just music. This is where you find the best of TNT. This is more than just a vibe. This is where Bollywood gets a twist. This is more than just energy. This is Bhangra and indie pop too. This is the mix. This is the life. Lock on or log on now. Sangeet 106.1 FM. This is authentic East Indian radio. This is us.
Extra, read all about it.
We are more than headlines, more than stories on a page.
The Trinidad and Tobago Guardian newspaper, your favorite national newspaper, is relaunching its community feature section with one major focus in mind.
It's all about we Trinis.
We life and culture.
We heritage.
We health.
We food. We music.
We community.
We men.
We women.
We kids, yay! Everything we love and adore. We are every part of Trinidad and Tobago. And now, We is a space where every reader sees themselves reflected. Introducing We, the Guardian's bold new celebration, a magazine dedicated to irresistible stories and features that celebrate the very best of Trini life. Our stories, our culture, our life.
Well, you know, Rondell Fields is one to always, be here with me in studio, and we get into our discussions. But when Visham shows up in person in a suit, in a full suit of black, Visham in a black suit with a black tie, I say, yes, partner, it's serious. It's serious. You all doing your media blitz. I want to say welcome to the gentleman from the TNT Automotive Dealers Association, our president and vice president. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you very, very much for giving us the interview at late notice also.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's an important discussion, and President Babu, I want to start with you, and, by all means, Rondell, you could chime in. What's going on with this hybrid situation? It seems like a contradiction, because there's one particular statement that came out from government, then I'm seeing another statement, and ultimately it will impact sales, and people might very well just not buy some of these vehicles based on the proposed tax.
Good. JW, this came as a big shock to us. Now, a shock in the sense that about 2 weeks ago, the government they were clearing the vehicles, but they were not giving us a document to register the vehicles. So we wanted them to make a decision before we start a comment on this. So we must know what the whole matter is before we comment on it. We don't want a premature comment on it. And then Thursday, they sent out a notice, advisory, stating that these vehicles now attract all the taxes, the duty, motor vehicle tax, and VAT, right? For vehicles that have been imported, for vehicles that have been in the sea, and for vehicles that we already have pre-ordered for and things like that, right? So this happened Thursday, and Friday now they want us to start paying the taxes. Now when we import this vehicle, this matter, it might seem light, right? But they just want to put a tax in the vehicle, but it's not that. We have been guided by a legal notice which states that the vehicle, once it have a combination of an engine or a rechargeable energy system, we can import this vehicle tax-free. It qualifies.
And that's what we call a hybrid vehicle.
A hybrid vehicle. Now, a hybrid vehicle is a hybrid vehicle. It could be mild hybrid, strong hybrid, medium hybrid. Hybrid is hybrid. That is what the legal notice said. This is what we have been guided by, and this is why we have been importing these vehicles for the past, since 2022, when this legal notice came out.
So what's the variation now, Randall? Obviously, I mean, hybrid, yes, engine, but also battery.
Right.
And a lot of people going down that road to save on gas and just, you know, it's more economical.
So that's the thing, right? I mean, many people may not know that they have the strong hybrid, they have the mild hybrid.
I didn't even know that.
So people confused, so they're just thinking, oh boy, hybrid,
I think
taxes and all
hybrid is hybrid. Bread is bread. Correct. But then you have hamburger bread, you have butter bread, you have hops bread. So it's something like that.
Yeah. Right. sort of that. Yeah. So, I mean, the mild hybrid will have a lesser torque contribution, mean to propel the car, right? However, it works in tandem still with the internal combustion engine. And that is exactly, that speaks exactly to what Mr. Baba was alluding to with the legal notice. That is what the legal notice requires, that you have this onboard electric device that's rechargeable, and it works in tandem with the petrol engine, the diesel engine, whatever engine, right? That is why we were so surprised to see that issue come out from customs saying that it does not propel the car. Jace, if you pick up your phone now and you input, does this onboard rechargeable device help in the propulsion of the vehicle? Any ChatGPT, any Google search will bring up, yes, it does. So when it comes to qualifying under what is specified in the legal notice, the mild hybrid falls in the bracket for exemption, just as the strong hybrid. There's no part of that document or that legal notice that speaks to torque contribution, capping it, to say it must have this amount or it must have this little. Once it contributes, once it assists with the propulsion of the vehicle, that is what is stated in the legal notice.
So these cars are sitting at the dock because you're obviously not willing to pay for it based on this new...
With the new system now, they have classified the car, you know, the custom Asicura system, and with the HS codes, they have now classified it as a gasoline car, which does not qualify for the exemption. So when your broker enter your car into the system, it shows up as a gasoline car, so you have to pay the taxes. But we have advised, and we are advising people who are importing these cars, just hold a little bit. We have a meeting with the minister at 8:30 a.m. this morning. We are hoping to solve this matter for once and for all.
I thought you dressed up so to come any morning. Morning, Brew.
I had to go in person because this is a very serious matter, and this happened without any discussion with us, without any prior notification.
No consultation.
No consultation, nothing.
What vehicles, give me some particular, the actual vehicles that will be impacted, the make and model.
The Toyota Hyrider, the Toyota Taser,
talk about the Fronks too.
The Fronks, the Ertiga, there's the Vitara as well, and there are some other vehicles. Now also, what they didn't put in this notice that they sent out, you have some BMW, you have Mercedes, you have Audi, you have Kia, right? But they only, in the letter that came from customs, they only have the Suzuki brand and the Toyota Taser, the Hyrider, but they don't have the others. I don't know if they're not aware, right? I can't say, but this is the ones that they listed. And you know, I want to say something, Jason. Sometimes when people in an industry, I have been in industry all my life and lobbied for hybrid 15, 20 years ago, since 2010, 16 years ago, right? And when you understand how things work, how technology has changed things, although they are claiming the vehicle does not have a motor, there's an internal starter generator that converts to a motor. So even in that sense, that does not make any sense. Although the legal notice, we were guided by that. So this must not take away from the legal notice. But I'm just saying that, you know, technology has changed and things have moved further ahead.
And what we have to consider also, this is going to, we always try to impact the people on the lower economic side of the bracket. People who were for the first time saying, boy, you know, again, a brand new Taser. It was because of the mild hybrid, right? Because it's lower, it's cheaper to manufacture than the strong hybrid, right? So people were getting the brand new car, or they're getting a slightly used one with the fronts, with the smaller vehicle. They became very popular, as it became Taser Nation, so to speak, High Rider Nation. So now what you've done, right? You're looking at a vehicle like the High Rider, or you're looking at a vehicle like the Suzuki Vitara, who have both mild models and strong hybrid models. And you're now going to put the one that was cheaper, that fit the pocket of the man at the lower end, and you're going to make that one more expensive than the strong hybrid. So the man who could buy the strong hybrid could buy both now, and the man who only buy the mild hybrid can buy none again. So I don't know if we take these things into consideration.
And JW, sorry,
yeah, no problem, Babs.
Remember the legislation, the legal notice that we are talking about, they gave you permission to import the hybrid vehicle. I don't know if you have it in front of you there.
Yeah.
But I'm just going to read it out for clarity. Again, right? That this is the thing we are talking about here. This is the clause here. Import for private use with an engine size not exceeding 1599 cc. And capable of being propelled by a combination of an internal combustion engine and an on-board rechargeable energy system or other energy storage device.
Correct.
Where the electric motor does not exceed the power of 105 kilowatts. But it never say that the electric motor has to independently drive the vehicle.
So this is going to potentially increase some of these vehicles by 40 to about 50,000 TT.
Right.
Clearly, you all have to pay the tax and pass this cost now on to the customer. And if somebody going to pay, if you already forecast a certain amount of to spend, you already have to insurance. To put extra 40, 50, you're going to go past it. Them come and stand around.
People pay down on vehicles already at a price. Overnight, while the cars in the port, I'm telling you about, cars in the port waiting to be cleared, they're telling them, but you're car in the port, now tomorrow you're telling them, but you have to pay 40 or 50,000 or more. They have their loan approved, everything already. It's unfair.
That, to look at the consumer perspective and the personal importer perspective, the consumer who go and fight up to get this loan, fight up to finally get approved, weeks, I think, job letter, pay slip, then for the person to say, hey, well, I know this tax has now been implemented and it's good. It may be retroactive, so I can't sell you this vehicle at this price again. Then the consideration of the personal importer who fight up to get USD to make the importation, take their life savings possibly to buy the vehicle land on the port, and they don't have money to clear it. What's going to happen?
You know, President Babwa said, and I know you're going to be there in that meeting at 8:30 with the minister. You believe being able to ventilate, explain to him the technical ins and outs of the said vehicle, you anticipate, are you optimistic there can be a change of heart, there can be a reversal of this particular policy?
I am. We have been calling for that, and I am based on the legal notice. This is no, remember,
and facts.
Facts. When we have meetings, and then we don't ask for no special treatment or no favors, you know, it is legally stated.
You are guided by
that.
Yes.
Okay. This is what it says. So when custom made a decision, I am not sure if they had discussion with the minister, if they didn't, who they had discussion with, if they made a decision based on what they interpreted this to be, and it is wrong. So I'm hoping the minister would give us a moratorium, or while we have a discussion, not even calling for a moratorium right now. Right now, the legal notice say that, and that should work.
Unless it's amended.
Unless they have other discussions and they come with another legal notice.
Correct. I mean, most definitely, this is not the first time, Jace, that this has happened with customs. There was the time, I think, 2018, 2019, Baba, when I think they had an increase in taxes, and they tried to put it in one time. We had to then have a meeting in the Ministry of Finance, and then we got a moratorium now we're talking about here. So we are hoping, again, that good sense will prevail. And I mean, we are all adults, and we'll come to a resolution cordially.
We're going to wrap things up now, but feel free as you come out of our meeting, touch base with us, let us know so we can report this on the news.
Of course, thank you very much. I will call and let you all know.
And sharp today.
Thank you for giving us this opportunity again, you know, which you all always do.
Yeah, always a pleasure, always a pleasure. Yes, man, for sure. President.
Thank you, Jason.
Respect. Yes,
take care, sir.
We're going to take that pause and come back. Very interesting conversation yet again to wrap things up, and I know it will be a beautiful one for the maths lovers. Stand by.
For over 4 decades, Nagico has been a steadfast partner, enabling communities and businesses across Dutch, English, and French-speaking territories within the Caribbean and also France. Every policy we provide is a promise to help with managing the uncertainties of life. Beyond insurance, we're committed to uplifting our communities through sponsorships and initiatives. We're a people-centric, purpose-driven organization dedicated to building a brighter future.
AM Best rated us A- excellent for financial strength.
Shop and save at PRW Enterprises. Get a Samsung 75-inch TV, only $8,535. PS5 console game, only $4,800. Samsung E9 tablet, $1,199. JBL soundbar, $1,968. Printers from $650. Blenori Drone X60, only $786. Party speaker box, $2,500. Call PRW today.
Visit Tire Clinic Marketing, New Truck and OTR Tire Service Center at number 30 and 32 Montrose Main Road, Chabonas. Call today at 665-8973 or 672-3419. Alignment services available. Tire Clinic Marketing, Truck and OTR Service Center. A tire for every need.
Parents will do it. They'll go to work, have a day, bro, and come on and take that stress out on you.
Welcome to another episode of Manhood.
Everybody will do what they need to do to get what they want.
And if they can't fit in to the norms, then what do they do? They'll survive. You know?
Not everybody wants to kill me because I might be all kind of thing, but I think I'm a good person.
The aspect of a mentor seeing something in you that you can't see in yourself.
Check yourself, because you shaped that generation.
Are we losing in many ways the values?
Since I have this Parkinson's diagnosis, there's a group, a very small type group, who will always look after me.
It gives me great pleasure to welcome mathematician and theoretical physicist Romain J. Campbell on the Zoom line. Romain, let me tell you, I got the notes for the show. We normally get it, I get it the night before. I had to read your bio, I had to read what I was reading twice to come to terms with what I was seeing with the excellence of you, my friend. Romain, this is tremendous. You are, well, you've been attracting, from what I'm seeing, international attention after you were elected a fellow of the American Mathematical Society, and you're going to be collaborating with NASA to pursue experimental testing of a new theory of relativity that challenges the great Einstein. Like, I say, wait, I said, Trini doing this, why? I won't lie. Well done, Romain.
Thank you.
I mean, we have limited time. I want to get so much out of this conversation. Where are you right now, and in terms of this challenge to the theory, how are you going to go about it?
Well, I've written a series of relativity papers in theoretical physics, which outline my advanced theory of relativity. And the basis of my theory is that the speed of light is not the same everywhere in the universe, which contradicts the basis of Einstein's special relativity, which asserts that the speed of light is invariant and a universal constant. It moves at its maximum speed throughout the universe. It's a universal constant and it's fixed, according to Einstein. Now, moving forward, I have submitted my follow-up paper to Nature Physics, which is one of the most prestigious physics journals in the world. And thus far, the feedback I've gotten from them is that the language is excellent, and they are still reviewing it as we speak. But you can check your, the status of your paper through a portal that they have there.
Excellent.
Right?
Excellent.
And moving forward now, I am bringing forth a new theory of space and time. Now, in Einstein's special relativity, he described time dilation and length contraction and E equals mc squared mass energy equivalence. Now, what time dilation is, it basically states that from a stationary inertial observer's perspective, he will observe you moving in your frame of reference, your clock to be ticking slightly slower than his clock. And from your perspective, you would observe his clock to be ticking at exactly the same time dilation factor, exactly slower as he's seeing your clock ticking. And then as a consequence of that now, length contraction follows, where distances get shorter. They become shorter in your direction of motion. So therefore, you will take less time to get to your destination because one, time is moving slower relative to you, and two, the distance is shorter. Now, my theory of space and time for advanced relativity is the inverse function of time dilation and length contraction. My theories are called time contraction and length dilation. So you see how it goes back to front there. Now, what time contraction states is that since Einstein stated in his special theory of relativity that the faster you move, the more time slows down, I'm saying the slower you move, the inverse of that function transpires, whereby the more time speeds up relative to you, and as a consequence of that, the distance becomes elongated relative to you from your perspective.
Wow.
So therefore, you take a longer time to get to your destination. Now, I did my research, and I investigated to ascertain whether or not a person who developed a new theory of space and time and got NASA to prove it and get rigorous experimental evidence to back them up on that, would they be a candidate for the Nobel Prize in Physics? And they said yes. Anybody, in fact, anybody who proves special relativity wrong or comes up with a new theory of space and time, a new framework, relativity framework, is a strong candidate for the Nobel Prize for Physics.
Wow. Well, let me tell you, Romain, I wish we could talk all morning on this. This is tremendous. Tell me, I mean, let's go back to where it all started for you with school and maths. Who was your maths teacher? Where did this love for math and physics and all this start?
Well, I was homeschooled for the secondary aspect of my secondary education, but I went to private institutions like Upper Level and Ramlal's Institute, and I remember this teacher from Upper Level, Miss Usha. She's a brilliant maths teacher. She taught me maths as well, even though I had known the basics and the fundamentals already because I studied on my own.
Oh.
You know, I'm just like Einstein, like largely self-taught, you know?
Wow.
But I went to university for law, ironically, and now I'm preparing next year to go to UB to do a double major in mathematics and physics.
Now you have a math brain, bro. Trust me. You know, I think that's a gift. That's a blessing. Not everybody will have that capacity, and I really wish you the best. Like literally, keep us posted as you get a feedback based on your thesis, your theory. I'll let us know. Yes. And I mean, your name.
And I have the paper here.
Yes.
I have the paper here.
Well, bro, we want you up in the lights, you know. You know, this have a Trini, and you know we have had amazing intellectuals on the world stage. You think of the likes of Cyril R. James and others, more in literature.
Yeah.
You know.
Yes.
Naipaul.
Prize, yes.
But for maths, oh, that would be tremendous.
Physics.
We have some seconds.
I did the requisite research.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If I win the Nobel Prize for Physics, I'll be the first person of color to win the Nobel Prize for Physics in the world.
Amazing. So, you know, as we wrap things up, literally we have a couple seconds. How can folks follow you? Where are you online to just continue?
On LinkedIn, primarily on LinkedIn.
Okay, so we're just looking for your name?
Yeah, Ramon Campbell. And you see a picture of me in a suit.
All right then. Well, let me tell you, keep us posted. All the best, and really a pleasure meeting you, bro. Really a pleasure.
Thank you. Likewise. Thanks for the opportunity.
Cheers. Wow. You know, I'm going to deal with the maths there. Hey, whew. Have me and all. I'm going to talk to my colleague Sheldon there. When you told me about Sheldon then, distance? Warp. So we're going to get into maths discussion now. You fire up the place, boy, Ramon. With that, we're going to make our exit. It was a tremendous show yet again. God spare. I'm back for more tomorrow. Have a great day, TNT.